The colony bazaar on the edge of the Orion Belt was noisy, colorful, and full of chaos. Ethan, a human cargo pilot, moved through the crowd with steady steps. He was used to strange places, having flown from one forgotten outpost to another for years. But this market always felt different. Creatures from dozens of alien species shouted prices, waved glowing goods, and argued about the worth of minerals, weapons, and rare drinks. To Ethan, it was just another stop before his next run, but fate had a different plan for him that day. His eyes were caught by a scene near a drinking stall. A tall alien with greenish skin and 3 ridged horns leaned heavily against the counter. He looked unsteady, his speech slurred. Beside him stood 3 young girls of the same species. Their big golden eyes were full of confusion and fear, and they clung to each other as though they were the only safety in the world. The alien father, drunk beyond reason, shouted, "Who will take them? They are strong. They can work. Give me something worth drinking." His words were rough, his voice carrying across the market. Some laughed. Others turned away, muttering about disgrace. But one merchant placed a bottle of cheap, glowing liquor on the counter and said, "For the 3? Done." Ethan froze. His chest tightened as he realized what was happening. The alien man was trading his own daughters away for booze. The 3. Girls pressed together, their eyes darting, their hands trembling. They did not speak, but their faces told the story clearly. They did not want this. Ethan felt anger rise inside him. He was not the kind of man who looked for trouble, but there were moments in life when silence made one guilty, and this was one of those moments. He stepped forward, his voice firm. "Stop! You can't do that!" The drunken alien spun toward him, his horns tilting with the motion. "And who are you, human? Stay out of this. They are mine. I do what I want." "They're children," Ethan said. "Not things to sell?" The merchant laughed nervously and reached for the bottle. "Stay out of it, pilot. You don't want to get mixed in with family matters." Ethan didn't move. He kept his eyes on the girls, who now looked at him with a flicker of hope. It was faint, but it was there. He sighed. "I'll take them." The crowd went quiet. The alien father blinked. "You'll what?" "I'll take them," Ethan repeated, his voice steady. "You want booze? Fine, I'll buy your bottle, but they're coming with me." The drunk alien gave a rough laugh. "Foolish human. Fine, take them. I don't care." He snatched the drink from the counter and stumbled away, disappearing into the crowd with no backward glance. The merchant, still holding the bottle Ethan had paid for, shrugged. "Your problem now." Ethan didn't answer. He crouched down to the 3 girls. They looked at him with wide golden eyes, still afraid. He spoke softly. "You're safe now. You're coming with me. No one will hurt you." They didn't reply, but the youngest reached out with a shaking hand and touched his sleeve. Ethan felt a weight settle on his shoulders. He had just made a choice that would change his life forever. Back at his ship, the Starlight Runner, Ethan guided the 3 girls aboard. They clung to each other, moving carefully as if unsure of their steps. The ship's old metal walls hummed with the low sound of power running through the engines. "This is home now," Ethan said, leading them to a small cabin. "It's not much, but it's safe." The eldest, a little taller than the others, finally spoke. Her voice was soft but clear. "Why?" Ethan paused. "Why what? Why help us?" she asked, her golden eyes filled with suspicion and fear. He thought for a moment. "Because no one else did. Because it was wrong to leave. You there?" The middle girl studied him with curious eyes, while the youngest clung to her sisters. Their faces slowly relaxed, though the fear didn't vanish completely. Ethan gave them food from the ship's stores, simple protein packs and fruit cubes. The girls ate carefully, as though they weren't sure if it was really for them. He watched in silence, feeling a strange warmth inside. Later, when they were settled in their bunks, Ethan sat in the cockpit and stared at the stars. He had work waiting, cargo to deliver, routes to follow, but his mind kept returning to the bazaar. He didn't know the names of the girls. He didn't know their history or what their species would think of this. All he knew was that 3 young lives had been abandoned, and now they were his responsibility. A soft sound broke his thoughts. Turning, he saw the youngest girl standing at the doorway, holding a blanket in her hands. She looked nervous, but stepped closer. "Scared," she whispered. Ethan stood and knelt down so he was at her level. "I know," he said gently. "But you're safe here." She nodded slowly, then handed him the blanket as if offering a gift. Ethan smiled and gave it back to her, wrapping it around her shoulders. "Go sleep," he said softly. "Tomorrow will be better." She gave him a small smile before hurrying back to the cabin. Ethan sat back in the pilot's chair, staring out at the endless night sky. His ship had always been quiet, lonely, just him and the stars. Now it was different. There was laughter, waiting to be found, voices that would fill the silence. He didn't know what challenges lay ahead, but he knew one thing for certain. He would protect those girls with everything he had. And for the first time in years, Ethan felt like his journey had real purpose. The next morning aboard the Starlight Runner began quietly. The hum of the engines filled the ship as Ethan sat in the cockpit, reviewing his cargo route. His mind, however, wasn't on work. It kept wandering to the 3 girls now sleeping, in the cabin he had given them. When he finally checked on them, he found the youngest curled up at the foot of the eldest's bunk, her small hand gripping her sister's arm. The middle one was awake, sitting upright and watching the cabin door. She gave Ethan a cautious look, not hostile but full of guarded suspicion. "Morning," Ethan said softly. The eldest spoke again, her voice calm but wary. "Where are you taking us?" Ethan leaned against the wall and folded his arms. "First to deliver cargo. After that, I'm not sure. But wherever we go, you'll stay safe. That's a promise." They exchanged glances. Trust didn't come quickly, but he noticed their shoulders weren't as tense as before. He decided they needed names. "What should I call you?" he asked. The eldest looked down. "Our names Father did not give us. Not yet." Ethan frowned. Their culture must have had customs he didn't fully understand, but he couldn't just call them girl or hey you. "Then how about we make names? Together?" he suggested. The youngest perked up at that, tilting her head curiously. Ethan smiled. "We'll start simple. Something easy for me to remember, and something that feels yours." It took time, but with small gestures and hesitant words, they settled on names. The eldest became Lyra, after the constellation Ethan often stared at during long flights. The middle girl chose Mira, a star name that matched her curious, thoughtful eyes. The youngest, laughing when Ethan tried several choices, settled on Nova, because she liked the way it sounded and clapped her hands when he said it. For the first time since they met, the girls smiled without fear. That day, Ethan showed them around the ship. Lyra studied the navigation screens with sharp attention. She asked questions about coordinates, warp jumps, and star maps. Ethan explained patiently, impressed by how quickly she understood. Mira, meanwhile, drifted toward the engine room. She touched tools carefully, eyes full of interest. Ethan watched as she inspected a broken panel, her fingers tracing wires as if she already knew how they worked. Nova was the most active, running through the hallways, peeking into storage rooms, and laughing when the ship's cleaning bot whirred past her feet. She seemed to carry energy that filled the quiet ship with life. That evening, Ethan cooked a simple meal with ration packs. It wasn't anything fancy, but he warmed it on the galley stove to make it smell better. The girls ate eagerly, and this time, they didn't hesitate. Nova even giggled when Ethan made a silly face after tasting the salty stew. Better than bizarre food, Ethan joked. Lyra looked up. Thank you. The words were soft, but they carried weight. Ethan gave her a small nod. Over the next few days, the bond between them grew stronger. One morning, Ethan found Mira in the engine room with a wrench in hand. At first, he thought she was playing, but then he saw the way she tightened a loose valve and sealed a leaky pipe with remarkable care. You fixed that? Ethan asked, surprised. Mira nodded shyly. It was noisy. I wanted it quiet. Ethan laughed softly. You've got a mechanic's hands. Lyra spent hours studying the star charts. She memorized routes faster than Ethan expected, even pointing out shortcuts he had overlooked. Nova made everything brighter. She decorated her bunk with bits of cloth and empty ration boxes, turning them into little treasures. She followed, Ethan like a shadow asking endless questions. What's that button? Why is space black? Do stars sleep? Ethan never grew tired of answering, though sometimes he had to laugh at how endless her curiosity seemed. But peace did not last forever. One evening, as the Starlight Runner docked at a refueling station, Ethan heard whispers among other travelers. They spoke about a horned alien, drunk and furious, searching for something he had lost. Some said he had mercenaries with him. Some claimed he wanted revenge. Ethan's jaw tightened. He knew who it was. The girl's father. He didn't tell them right away. Instead, he made sure they stayed aboard while he gathered supplies. But Lyra noticed his tense expression. Something's wrong, she said. Ethan sighed. Your father is looking for you. Mira stiffened. Nova hid behind her sisters. Lyra's face went pale, but her eyes grew hard. We don't want him. I know, Ethan replied. And I won't let him take you. They stared at him, searching for any sign of doubt. But Ethan's voice was firm, steady like steel. The next day, the threat became real. As the Starlight Runner prepared to leave the station, 3 mercenary ships approached. Their comm signals came through, harsh and demanding. Hand over the girls, human. You have something that doesn't belong to you. Ethan's grip tightened on the controls. He glanced back at the cabin, where the girls waited, fear in their eyes. Listen to me, he said firmly. Whatever happens, stay in your room. Trust me. He launched the ship into evasive maneuvers. The mercenaries expected an easy target. But Ethan was no ordinary pilot. Years of running dangerous cargo had taught him how to dodge blockades and slip past patrols. His ship wasn't the fastest, but in his hands it moved like lightning through narrow asteroid fields. The mercenaries chased him, firing warning shots. Nova squealed at the sound, but Lyra pulled her close, whispering to keep her calm. Mira, though trembling, whispered, "The left thruster's overheating." Ethan heard her through the comm and adjusted just in time, avoiding a stall. "Good. Eyes, Mira!" he shouted, impressed. The girls weren't just passengers anymore. They were becoming part of the ship's survival. After a tense pursuit, Ethan finally outmaneuvered the mercenaries, slipping into a dense nebula that scrambled their sensors. The Starlight Runner emerged on the other side, free but shaken. In the quiet that followed, Ethan turned his chair toward the cabin door. The girls appeared wide-eyed but alive. Lyra spoke first, her voice steady despite the fear in her gaze. "We are not going back?" Ethan nodded. "I know. And you won't. Not as long as I breathe." Nova ran forward and hugged his arm. Mira looked at the engine readouts, already thinking of ways to improve their defenses. Lyra, with her quiet strength, met Ethan's eyes and gave a single nod of trust. For the first time, Ethan realized this was more than a rescue. This was family. And though the galaxy would soon test them, he was ready. The Starlight Runner floated quietly through open space, far from the nebula that had shaken them. Ethan sat in the cockpit, eyes locked on the star map. The mercenaries were still out there, searching, and sooner or later they would catch his trail again. But what weighed heavier on him was not just the danger, it was the three girls now depending on him. Lyra, Mira, and Nova had become more than passengers. They were part of his life now, filling the empty ship with voices, questions, and laughter. Yet deep inside, Ethan wondered, could he really raise them? Could a wandering pilot become the father figure they needed? His thoughts were interrupted by the soft sound of footsteps. Turning, he saw Lyra enter the cockpit. She carried herself differently from her sisters, calmer, more serious. Though still young, she carried a strength in her eyes that reminded Ethan of a soldier preparing for battle. "You're worried," she said simply. Ethan gave a small chuckle. "I guess I am." "About him," Lyra continued. "He won't stop." Ethan sighed. "You're right. Your father won't give up. Men like him, they care more about pride than family." He paused, then added, "But I'm not going to let him near you." Lyra nodded, though her lips pressed together tightly. "We are not his anymore. We choose you." Those words struck Ethan harder than she knew. He reached out and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then I'll never let you down." Later that day, Mira was in the engine room again. Ethan found her balancing on a crate, tools spread out around her as she examined one of the power couplings. "What are you doing this time?" Ethan asked. Mira looked up, a bit nervous. "The coupling, it wastes energy. I can fix." Ethan raised a brow. "You sure?" She nodded firmly. Ethan watched as she adjusted wires with small, precise movements, her thin fingers surprisingly steady. Sparks flew once, and Ethan stepped closer, ready to pull her away, but she didn't flinch. She corrected the connection and sealed it with a patch. The hum of the engines grew smoother, stronger. Ethan blinked in surprise. "You actually did it?" Mira gave a shy smile. "Better now." Ethan laughed, shaking his head. "Remind me never to underestimate you again." Nova was different. While her sisters carried quiet strength, Nova filled the ship with endless curiosity. One afternoon, Ethan found her sitting on the floor of the galley, talking to the cleaning bot as if it were alive. "It goes beep and cleans everything," she told him proudly. "I named it Whiskers." Ethan chuckled. "Whiskers, huh? Not bad." Nova grinned, then suddenly asked, "Why do stars shine?" Ethan crouched beside her, trying to explain in the simplest way. "Stars are like fires in space. They burn for a very long time, giving light and warmth." Nova's eyes widened. "So they are alive?" "Not alive like us," Ethan said with a smile. "But in their own way, they make life possible." She thought about it, then whispered, "Then maybe we are part of stars, too." Ethan stared at her in silence, amazed. For someone so young, she had a way of seeing beauty where others saw only science. Despite these warm moments, the shadow of danger lingered. One evening, as they sat for dinner, a warning light blinked on Ethan's console. He checked the signal. It was a trace ping. Someone was scanning the region, searching for ships like his. His chest tightened. "They're getting closer," he muttered. Lyra looked at him sharply. "Mercenaries?" "Yes," Ethan admitted. "And your father might. Be with them." Nova shrank against her sisters. Mira's hands clenched into fists. Lyra, however, raised her chin. "Then we fight." Ethan shook his head. "Not like soldiers. Our fight is survival. We stay ahead, we stay smart, and we don't let them catch us." "But what if they do?" Mira asked quietly. Ethan looked at each of them, then said firmly, "Then they'll find out what humans are willing to do for family." Over the next few days, Ethan trained them, not with weapons. He refused to let them become child soldiers, but with skills that would help them survive. Lyra learned to read ship systems and track incoming signals. She became his second pair of eyes in the cockpit, sharp and alert. Mira practiced fixing damaged systems under pressure. Ethan would simulate malfunctions, and she would rush to repair them. Her confidence grew with every success. Nova, though younger, learned how to assist with comms and simple tasks. She treated it like a game, but her small hands were quick and clever. Together, they became more than passengers. They became crew. One night, as they drifted quietly through the dark stretch between systems, the girls asked about Ethan's past. "Were you always alone?" Nova asked. Ethan hesitated. "Not always. I had a family once, parents back on Earth. But life pulled me away. I chose the stars instead of settling down." Lyra tilted her head. "And do you regret it?" he thought long before answering. "Sometimes. The stars gave me freedom, but they also gave me loneliness. Until I found you three." Mira spoke softly. "Then maybe you were meant to find us." Ethan smiled faintly. "Maybe so." Peace was short-lived. A few days later, as the Starlight Runner entered a quiet trade route, alarms blared. 3 ships uncloaked ahead, blocking their path. Mercenary insignias glowed on their hulls. A message crackled through comms. "Human pilot, surrender the alien girls. You cannot run forever." Ethan's blood ran cold. He glanced at Lyra, who was already checking navigation routes. Mira rushed to the engine room, ready to stabilize systems. Nova clutched the seat but kept her eyes on him, waiting for his lead. Ethan spoke calmly, though his heart raced. "Strap in! This will be rough!" He fired the thrusters, diving into a sharp maneuver. The mercenaries opened fire, energy blasts lighting the darkness. The Starlight Runner shook violently, but Ethan's hands moved with precision. Years of experience guided him as he wove through enemy fire. Lyra called out, "Left corridor clear! Take it now!" Ethan obeyed instantly, trusting her eyes. Mira's voice crackled through comms. "Boosting power to shields! Hold steady!" Nova, gripping tightly, shouted, "Faster, Ethan! Go faster!" The chase turned desperate. The mercenaries underestimated the old human freighter, but in Ethan's hands it danced like a predator. Asteroids loomed ahead, and Ethan dove into the field, weaving between rocks as enemy fire exploded behind them. After a tense struggle, the mercenaries broke off, unwilling to risk their ships in the dense field. The Starlight Runner emerged, battered but alive. Cheers echoed through the cabin. Nova jumped into Ethan's arms, laughing with relief. Mira's face lit up with pride at her repairs. Lyra gave a quiet nod, her golden eyes glowing with fierce determination. Ethan, breathing heavily, realized something powerful. This was no longer just survival. They were becoming a family that could face anything together. And though the galaxy still hunted them, Ethan felt unshakable certainty. The girls had chosen him, and he had chosen them. The Starlight Runner moved quietly through space, carrying its small crew further from danger. Ethan sat in the cockpit, scanning star charts and keeping an eye on the sensors. The chase with the mercenaries had left the ship battered, but their spirits remained strong. The 3 girls, Lyra, Mira, and Nova, were growing more confident with every passing day. Ethan knew the mercenaries would return. They never gave up, and the alien father who had traded his daughters for booze was still out there somewhere, waiting for a chance to take them back. But Ethan refused to give in. One morning, as the ship floated near a quiet asteroid mining station, Lyra approached Ethan with a new idea. "We need to find a safe place," she said quietly. "Somewhere we can stay without being hunted." Ethan nodded slowly. "Safe places are rare in this part of space, but maybe we can find one. Somewhere far from trade routes and mercenaries." Mira joined them, her eyes thoughtful. "We could use the station to repair the ship. It's small, but hidden." Nova tugged at Ethan's sleeve, eager and curious. "Can we see the stars close?" Ethan smiled. We'll make it quick. Then back to the stars. They docked at the mining station, a rough structure built into the side of a large asteroid. It was quiet and dusty with few ships coming and going. Ethan helped the girls through the airlock, reminding them to keep close. Inside, the station was simple but welcoming. Miners and workers glanced at the strange family but said little. Ethan negotiated for supplies and repairs while the girls explored under his watchful eye. Lyra was fascinated by the small control room. She studied the station's scanners and asked questions about how they tracked ships in the area. Ethan answered patiently, impressed again by her quick mind. Mira spent time with the station's engineer, learning about tools and machines. The engineer, a gruff but kind woman, showed Mira how to fix a broken pump. Mira's hands were steady, and the repair was a success. Nova wandered to a window overlooking the asteroid belt, her eyes wide with wonder. "It's like stars are playing hide-and-seek," she said softly. Ethan watched them, feeling proud. This small station was a moment of peace, a chance to breathe before the storm. That night, as the ship's engines hummed with fresh repairs, Ethan sat with the girls in the common room. The stars outside shone bright, casting soft light through the windows. "Tell me about your home," Ethan said gently to Lyra. She hesitated but then spoke. "Our world is called Vela. It is beautiful. Mountains that touch the sky, forests that glow at night." "Why did your father leave you here?" Ethan asked carefully. Lyra's eyes darkened. "He was angry with the council. He drank to forget. When the council punished him, he thought trading us would solve his shame." Mira added softly. "We were left alone, like broken things." Ethan felt a deep sadness for the girls. "You're not broken. You're strong." Nova smiled brightly. "And we have Ethan." Laughter filled the room, and for a moment the pain seemed lighter, but peace was fragile. A message arrived on Ethan's comm system, a warning from a friendly trader. The mercenaries had been spotted nearby, gathering forces. "They're planning something big," the message said. Ethan's face grew serious. "We can't stay here." Lyra nodded. "They want to hurt us. We need to move." Mira's eyes flashed determination. "Then we'll be ready." Nova hugged Ethan's arm tightly. "Don't let them catch us." Preparing to leave, Ethan checked the ship's systems carefully. The repairs had made the Starlight runner stronger, but the mercenaries were a serious threat. "We'll use the asteroid belt to hide," Ethan explained. "It's dangerous, but it's our best chance." Lyra and Mira worked with him, running scans and plotting routes. Nova helped with communications, her small fingers flying over the controls. As the ship slipped out of the station, Ethan felt a renewed sense of purpose. This wasn't just about running away. It was about fighting for the family he had chosen. The chase came quickly. The mercenary ships appeared on the sensors, closing fast. Their weapons glowed menacingly as they fired warning shots. "Hold on," Ethan warned. "This will be tight." He steered the ship into the dense asteroid belt, weaving through massive rocks with skill born from years of flying in dangerous space. The mercenaries followed, but the asteroids made it harder to aim. Ethan's ship darted between the rocks, engines pushing to the limit. Lyra called out, "There's a narrow pass ahead. If we make it, we can lose them." "Go for it," Ethan said without hesitation. The Starlight runner shot through the pass, narrowly missing a giant asteroid. "Enemy!" Fire exploded nearby, but they were too slow to follow. Safe for now. The ship drifted into a hidden cave system inside a large asteroid. The darkness swallowed them, and the mercenaries could not find their trail. Inside the cave, Ethan and the girls breathed easier. The ship was safe, and for the first time in a long while, so were they. Lyra sat beside Ethan. "We made it." "We did," Ethan smiled. "But we need to be ready. This family is just beginning." Mira looked around the cave, already thinking of ways to strengthen their defenses. Nova played nearby, her laughter echoing softly. Ethan watched them, feeling a fierce protectiveness. He didn't just want to keep them safe. He wanted to give them a future full of hope. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, but on the Starlight Runner, a new family was forming. Together, Ethan and the 3 alien daughters would face whatever came next, and no matter the storms ahead, their bond would hold strong. The Starlight Runner rested deep inside the asteroid cave, safe for the moment from the mercenaries who still hunted them through the stars. Ethan sat near a small console, studying star charts and calculating their next move. The girls were nearby, busy with their own tasks, each growing into a part of the ship and the family. Lyra had taken to the role of the navigator. Her sharp mind and quick learning made her a natural at reading star maps and plotting courses through dangerous space. She studied with determination, asking questions about jump drives and gravity wells. Ethan admired her focus, knowing she carried the weight of their future on young shoulders. Mira had become the ship's mechanic in training. With the help of the ship's engineer recordings and Ethan's guidance, she was learning to repair and improve the ship's systems. Her hands moved confidently over panels and tools, and she often worked late into the ship's quiet hours, determined to make their home stronger. Nova, the youngest, was the heart of the ship. Her endless energy and curiosity filled the silence. With laughter, she loved to explore every corner of the ship, collecting small treasures and asking endless questions. Her smile was a light that reminded Ethan why he fought to protect them. One evening, as the 3 girls gathered in the common room, Lyra spoke quietly. "We cannot hide forever." Ethan nodded. "You're right. We need a plan." Mira added, "We can't fight them head-on. They have better ships and more firepower." "Then we use what we have," Ethan said firmly. "Our brains, our speed, and our unity." Nova looked up with wide eyes. "We're a team?" "Yes," Ethan smiled. "A team that looks out for each other." The girls exchanged determined looks, ready to face whatever challenges came next. The mercenaries were relentless. Ethan received reports of their movements, patrols near trading routes, small attacks on isolated ships, and constant attempts to track the Starlight Runner. But Ethan stayed one step ahead, using hidden jump points and asteroid fields to mask their path. One day, as they passed near an abandoned space station, Lyra had an idea. "We could use the station as a base," she said. "It's hidden and we can repair the ship there." Ethan considered it. The station was old and forgotten, but it could be their chance to regroup. "Let's check it out," he agreed. Docking at the abandoned station, the crew explored the silent halls. The station was dark and dusty, but still intact. Ethan and Mira worked to reactivate power and life support systems while Lyra scanned for threats. Nova wandered, fascinated by the forgotten place. "It's like a ghost ship," Nova whispered, eyes wide. "Not a ghost," Ethan said softly. "A new home." They set up their base, repairing the ship and resting after weeks on the run. The station gave them space to plan and prepare. One night, as they gathered in the control room, Lyra shared what she had discovered. "The mercenaries are part of a larger group," she said. "A gang that trades in stolen goods and kidnapped people." Ethan frowned. "So this is bigger than just your father?" "Yes," Lyra replied. "They want to control this region. Your ship is a problem for them." Mira clenched her fists. "We can stop them." Ethan shook his head gently. "Not with force alone. We need to be smarter." They began planning a strategy that did not rely on weapons or fights. Ethan taught Lyra how to hack basic security systems. Mira learned how to disable enemy sensors. Nova practiced sending false signals to confuse their pursuers. They became a team of shadows, slipping through space unnoticed, making the mercenaries chase ghosts. Their plan worked. The mercenaries grew frustrated, their attacks becoming less frequent. The Starlight Runner was becoming a legend, a small ship that always escaped, always fought back with cleverness, not firepower. As weeks passed, Ethan noticed changes in the girls. Lyra's eyes shone with confidence, no longer filled with fear. Mira's smile grew more certain. Nova's laughter echoed through the ship like music. One evening, as they watched stars through the control room window, Nova tugged on Ethan's sleeve. "Are we family now?" she asked. Ethan smiled and nodded. "Yes, we are family," Lyra added. "You are our father now, Ethan." Ethan's heart swelled with pride and love. He had found a family in the stars, and nothing would ever change that. But the galaxy was not kind to those who ran from their past. A new signal appeared on their sensors, a distress call from a nearby colony under attack by pirates. Ethan faced a choice: help the colony and risk drawing attention, or stay hidden and keep the girls safe. After a long pause, he made his decision. "We help," he said firmly. The girls nodded without hesitation. They knew what it meant. Arriving at the colony, they found chaos. Pirate ships attacked without mercy, burning buildings and stealing supplies. Ethan's ship was small, but their courage was bigger than any weapon. Using the tricks they had learned, Ethan and the girls disabled pirate communications and launched surprise attacks. Lyra guided the ship through the battle. Mira worked on quick repairs, and Nova distracted enemies with clever signals. Slowly, the pirates retreated, confused and beaten. The colony was saved. The people cheered for the small ship that had come to their rescue, not knowing the family that made it possible. Back on the Starlight Runner, as the adrenaline faded, Ethan looked at the three girls with new respect. "We did good," he said quietly. Lyra smiled. "We're ready for whatever comes next." Mira nodded. "Together," Nova grinned. "Family forever." Ethan felt a deep warmth. They had come so far, from frightened children to brave crew, from strangers to family. And he knew, no matter the battles ahead, they would face them side by side. The Starlight Runner glided through the quiet depths of space, carrying its small crew toward an uncertain future. Ethan sat in the cockpit, eyes steady on the stars ahead. Beside him, Lyra, Mira, and Nova moved with a confidence born from months of survival, growth, and trust. They were no longer frightened children from a drunken father's mistake. They were a family, strong, united, and ready for whatever awaited beyond the stars. The galaxy was vast and filled with dangers, but also chances for new beginnings. Ethan knew their journey was far from over, yet he felt a calm certainty. This family, bound by choice and courage, was ready for the challenges to come. Lyra stood by the navigation console, her sharp eyes tracing the routes. "We're close. To a friendly system," she said. "A place where we can find help, allies maybe." Mira adjusted the ship's engine controls. "And fix the ship properly. It still needs work after everything." Nova bounced on her feet, her bright smile, lighting the cabin. "And we can explore new stars." Ethan smiled. "We will. But first, rest." That night, as the Starlight Runner drifted in the calm of space, Ethan sat with the girls in the common room. The stars outside twinkled like distant fires, silent, witnesses to their story. "Do you miss your home?" Ethan asked gently. Lyra's voice was quiet but firm. "Yes, but this is our home now." Mira nodded. "We have a new family." Nova looked up at Ethan, her eyes shining. "And a new father." Ethan felt a lump in his throat. He reached out, taking their hands in his. "I'm proud of all of you. You've grown so much. Together we've faced fear and danger, and we came out stronger." They smiled back, a family united by more than blood. Soon, the friendly system appeared on their sensors, a bright star surrounded by planets and moons. Ethan guided the Starlight Runner into orbit around a lush world known for its welcoming spaceport and peaceful inhabitants. As they docked, a crowd gathered, curious about the small ship and its unusual crew. Ethan and the girls stepped out, greeted by warm smiles and open hands. Here they found more than repairs and supplies. They found kindness and respect. The people listened to their story with wonder and admiration. During their stay, Lyra helped chart new trade routes, earning praise for her skill. Mira worked alongside engineers, quickly gaining respect for her talent and hard work. Nova charmed everyone with her laughter and innocence, reminding all who met them of hope and new beginnings. Ethan watched with pride as the girls flourished in this new world, far from the shadows of their past. But even in peace, the past could not be forgotten. One day, as Ethan walked through the market with the girls, a figure stepped forward. An older alien, his horns worn and his eyes tired but filled with regret. "I am the father you once had," he said quietly. Lyra looked at him with a mixture of anger and sadness. "You left us." "I was weak," he admitted, "but I have changed. I want to make things right." Mira crossed her arms. "It is too late." Nova looked up, her voice soft but strong. "We have a family now." Ethan stepped forward. "Family is what you choose to protect, not what you trade away." The father bowed his head. "Thank you for giving them a chance." The days that followed were filled with healing. The girls decided to forgive, not because the past was forgotten, but because they had found strength in moving forward. Ethan stayed by their side, proud to be their guardian and father. Together they planned for a future filled with hope, adventure, and the promise of a family that could overcome any darkness. As the Starlight Runner prepared to leave the friendly system, Ethan looked at the stars ahead. "Where to next?" Nova asked eagerly. "Wherever the stars take us," Ethan replied, "because together we can face anything." Lyra and Mira smiled, ready for the next journey, and as the ship's engines hummed to life, carrying them toward new horizons, Ethan knew this was just the beginning of their story. A story of love, courage, and the unbreakable bonds of family.